So hi everyone, welcome. I'm Samantha Murphy. I had the privilege of working with Judy here at the Department of Human Services in the building where we're in right now. And so I just wanted to welcome everybody, let you know that we are recording. You'll see two videographers, one on the side, one in the back of the room for the Heinz History Center. And we're gonna also give the recording to Judy's family after the event. So I just want to introduce everybody who helped plan today. So John Kay, hi. Tina Calabra, Christy Troutman, and Joe Elliott. So again, thanks for everyone for being here and being on the call. If anyone would like to interrupt us or say hi, just turn your camera on or raise your hand if you know how to do that on Teams, and we'll make sure you somehow you get on the screen. We're figuring it out today. So. Tina, would you like to start?
Hello, everybody. You have a program, and my remarks are going to be based on what's in the program, so you can follow along if you can. I'm going to add a few things to it, but I'm basically going to read it. Judy Barricella was a powerhouse in her personal life as a mother, grandmother, sister, and friend, and in her public life as a renowned disability rights advocate. And in terms of her mother and grandmother life, apart from us in the disability community and friend community, Anthony Barricella is here, right back there. And his partner, Kelly, and his son, Aaron, are online, Zoom part of the meeting, and also his brother, Jesse Barricella. So Judy was one of my closest friends. She was born in Pittsburgh to Frank P. and Hilda Rogers Barricella. She contracted polio at the age of 4. She attended Locust Street School in Etna and Mount Alvernia High School. And Anthony and I talked about how her life revolved around Etna. In her living, most of it was in the area of Etna. It didn't go too far away from where she was born, except for when she went away to college or grad school in Florida. Grad school. I find it interesting that Judy rarely spoke about her childhood experience with polio. I did not even know that she had polio, and I considered myself one of her closest friends. She never mentioned it. I never thought to ask. And I think it's very telling about Judy that I didn't know. She didn't talk about herself. She didn't complain. She didn't talk about her life story. And I find it very remarkable and very telling about Judy, that was her way. That was her natural way to focus on other people rather than herself. She earned a bachelor's degree in speech and hearing science from Pitt in 1973, a master's degree in speech therapy from the University of South Florida in 1976. She continued her education at the University of Pittsburgh School of Health and Rehab Sciences as an NIDRR fellow and then a Euclid fellow. Her son Anthony told me recently that his mom enjoyed school very much and really was proud to have accomplished so much in her education. Again, it was nothing she ever mentioned to her friends, but she accomplished a lot educationally and was very proud of it. Early in her career, she started a speech therapy program at what was then called the Association for Retarded Citizens. It's now Achieva, and went on to be the founding director of the Three Rivers Center for Independent Living in 1980, and she was executive director there for 10 years. Next, she established a national consulting company to advise nonprofit and for-profit companies on disability issues, and to give her the flexibility to raise her two sons, Anthony and Jesse. Here's something else I didn't know. She homeschooled her sons. I never knew that. Even though I knew her at the time, I didn't know she was homeschooling. And she homeschooled Anthony until the 10th grade, and his younger brother Jesse until about 2nd or 3rd grade. She was a very devoted mother in so many ways, and this commitment on the homeschooling was tremendous. Later, as an employee of the Allegheny County Department of Human Services, she created a program to better meet the needs of individuals with disabilities and became the first director of the Disability Connection, later known as the Aging and Disability Resource Center, Allegheny Link. And during her last 2 years before retirement in 2015, she served as the first ADA coordinator for Allegheny County. Her disability was legendary, visible, and long-lasting. In 2002, as the head of Disability Agenda 2000, which was a group charged with improving accessibility in the region, she persuaded the Three Rivers Arts Festival to implement a host of changes, including better parking, wider pathways at the artist market, more accessible restrooms, and a commitment to inclusivity. And if any of you were at the Arts Festival before she made all those changes, you know how terrible it was. She changed it. In 2008, she led the Voices of Our Region Oral History Project to document and share the stories of 57 people with disabilities in southwestern Pennsylvania. It captured the experiences of people of diverse backgrounds, cultures, and ages, and provided a candid look at the struggles and successes in the quest for self-determination and equal opportunity. Some of Judy's oral historians are here with us today, and my family was also part of that story, so I was so proud to be a part of that. Judy was on the White House lawn on July 26, 1990, when the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law, and for years afterwards, she was often at the forefront of annual celebrations of the ADA. She would bring the local disability community together with the wider community to reflect upon our successes, but more importantly, to call attention to the work that still needed to be done to ensure equality and inclusion. And some of us here remember Judy's performance at one of those, it was sort of like performance art, at one of those ADA celebrations on the steps of the city-county building, where she strapped herself into her wheelchair to illustrate the absurdity of the cliche, wheelchair bound. I think some of you here remember that. That was quite good. She devoted her life to this work. She served on numerous boards and committees locally, statewide, and nationally, including the FISA Foundation, United Way 21 Enable, Center for Creative Play. She had many honors and awards, including the Ruth and George Breno Achievement Award from Three Rivers Center for Independent Living. In a 2015 speech at Class Community about the impact of the ADA, Judy said, quote, "The ADA gave a voice to people with disabilities. We don't have to be afraid to ask for an accommodation or timid about taking a stand. We can ask and be bold. The disability community," and this is Judy still speaking, "the disability community and our non-disabled allies alike must continue to work to honor the legacy of generations before us by continuing to roll forward the wheels of progress and change. We have to keep fighting. The work is not over." And in closing, I would like to end with a few of the comments that were posted about Judy on Facebook recently. All of them ring true. 1, she was a grand voice for those she served. 2, she paved the way for all of us and always believed we could be more together. 3, and finally, a life well lived. She made a difference. Thank you.
Tina. I prepared some things to say for Judy's memorial, and then when we didn't get a chance to speak, I was kind of disappointed. And so Tina said so much that I wanted to say, but having been a coworker with Judy for so long, I really feel like she was a person who led quietly and lifted up the people around her so they could be successful. She left her footprint on our community, like you've just heard, and Pittsburgh and Allegheny County wouldn't be the same without her influence on this work. Judy was the kind of coworker who I could never sit across from in a meeting, because when something ridiculous was said, and inside I just wanted to say, like, are you kidding me? I would look at her and her eyes were saying, are you kidding me? And I'm like, oh my God, Judy, no, like she was that you could just like read each other's eyes. And that, for a long time worked on the other side of a cubicle wall from Judy. So we talked all the time and also heard her in her chair all the time. And there was something about, she would bring me back to the time where I was in trouble as a kid, and I could hear my parents, like, the way they were walking towards the room, I knew I was in trouble. Sometimes when that wheelchair whipped out of the room, like you knew someone was in trouble, and I didn't even have to hear the context, but just working so closely with someone for so long, you just know just know. So personally, I'd like to say our relationship changed from coworker to family very quickly. We were inseparable for a long time at work. She never supervised me, but she told me what to do a lot. And Tina, I was with her on the steps of the city county building and also strapped to a wheelchair that day. So that was quite a moment in my history. She showed up for me today, and knowing that we were going to do this memorial for her. This morning I was listening to an audio book, and someone said confined to a wheelchair. This morning I'm like, oh, what's up, Judy? I hear you. I know, we hate that. Judy was just that friend who, she visited me in the hospital the day both my children were born. Always talked about her boys and how much she loved them. And I don't know how ridiculous of a friendship it could be when I can actually say that we were both pooped on by birds downtown 2 days in a row under the exact same tree. Like, I don't know if that's friendship or not, but
that's definitely a unique bond.
That's a unique bond, agreed. So I know we all miss her so much, and I know her family, is absolutely still grieving, and we love you, and we're all here for you, and happy to do this today. John, you're up.
I don't have a lot of prepared remarks. I wanted to talk just a little bit about Judy. When I first started in the disability community and as an advocate, the folks around me said, one of the people you have to make a connection with is Judy Barricella, because she's a real leader, and she was definitely a voice of our region. Once Judy retired, I didn't spend a lot of time to talk to her. I see her at events at the class Community Heroes dinner a couple times, and we had conversations really about long-term care. And she wanted to get my take on it because I've received support services for almost 20 years now, a little over 20 years now. And so she wanted to get my take on the importance of that and living an independent life, and how caregivers are so important to the work that we do. Judy, if I remember, and I met with her a lot of times over the years, she always had a smile on her face. And she did tell you what she thought. That was for sure. As you had mentioned also, she was clear on that. But I think that the important thing for Judy is she, in conversations I have, she very much loved her family and was appreciative of what they did for her. And she also loved the disability community. It was a definite passion for her. And she'll always be remembered for, in my mind, a smiling face and by the way, can-do attitude. And I did a lot of work when we formed the Allegheny Link a number of years back about how the importance of people with disabilities and the support services that they get, not just from the community, but from their family as well. So I just had, like I said, just had a few comments about Judy, and she will be dearly missed by our community for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
So I'm Christy Troutman. I'm with the FISA Foundation, and Judy was on our board, and she was the boss of me. And did give a lot of input into things we should do and shouldn't do and how we could do them better. And I wanted to offer some reflections on behalf of FISA. I want to acknowledge Shane Layson, our program officer, is here, worked very closely. Susie Chase, former board member. Tina Calabro, former board member. I think Dee Delaney, our founding executive director, is online, as is Sue Clark. And so sort of on behalf of all of us, I wanted to talk a little bit about Judy's relationship with FISA Foundation. So I met Judy Barricella when I was just coming to learn about the powerful disability rights movement. From the beginning, I knew that Judy was a force to be reckoned with, a leader to be respected and listened to. But I didn't know very much about her accomplishments because Judy didn't believe in parading her credentials around, as others have said. She was about getting things done. When I met Judy, she was the coordinator of an audacious undertaking called Disability Agenda 2000 that focused on realizing the promise of the then 10-year-old Americans with Disabilities Act. The task force was led by Linda Dickerson and Jim Roddy, and it mobilized scores of volunteers to study 11 sectors of our community, including, for example, healthcare, education, and transportation, and it outlined changes that would be needed to make our region more inclusive. I pulled out the PowerPoint that Judy presented to us on Disability Agenda 2000's recommendations, and I was impressed by how strategic the design of it was and by how relevant the recommendations still are. Judy was part of bringing this planning process to life in our community and then worked tirelessly to advance its goals. Judy moved on from Disability Agenda 2000 to be the first director of Allegheny County's Disability Connection, created in 2004, which was later known as Aging and Disability Resource Center and eventually as Allegheny Link, a one-stop shop for seeking services and accessing benefits. Judy was responsible for the team that addressed any disability-related question that came through any of the many county human service hotlines and helped people with disabilities to find help and the resources that they need. For the first time, disabled people and family members had a place to call at the county to find people who would not only listen, but advise, inform, connect, support, and work to bring resources and help to where it was needed. Quite a legacy. In 2008, FISA worked again with Judy, this time on Voices of Our Region, which Tina mentioned, an audiovisual history of people with disabilities in southwestern Pennsylvania. It was created in celebration of Pittsburgh's 250th anniversary. Judy, along with acclaimed film producer and director Tony Buba and Athena Ardwig from DHS Communications, traveled around the region, interviewing people with disabilities, documenting their stories, and curating photographs and videos with historic data. Together, Judy, Tony, and Athena interviewed 57 people. The stories they collected have become more precious every year as more and more of those interviewed have passed away. Thanks to Judy's visionary leadership, their stories are preserved forever in online archives and DVDs as a unique collection of the triumphs and challenges of people with all kinds of disabilities. Judy Barricella has been an important advisor and partner to FISA for more than 20 years. We were proud to support her efforts as a grantee and partner, to collaborate as co-conspirators, and to snap her up as a board member the second she retired from DHS. She's left an indelible mark on us at FISA and on our whole community. As I say this, I picture Judy's elaborate eye roll signaling, get on with this already. We miss you very much, Judy. Thank you.
So actually I should probably say that Judy gave me an opportunity to work here with her. She hired me as an intern in 2004, and I knew absolutely nothing about human services and about that same amount about the struggles that people with disabilities face on a daily basis. But she set forth to train me. She had me measuring sidewalks and curb cuts and toilet heights. And so that was my introduction into what I needed to develop. A lot more came along the way, but Judy was always there to help me know. Hopefully I was never on the receiving end of one of those whips out of her office.
Oh, you were.
Yep. And I also know that Judy also told me what to do a lot. But it was always good advice. And fast forward 12 months, and we've heard people talk about the Aging and Disability Resource Center, and which later became known as the Allegheny Link. Well, that opportunity presented itself, and the idea was around systems change and around making a system that was disjointed for people be more person-centered. And as you've heard, Judy had a ton of experience around. She was a champion for systems change, and but the thing that really stuck with me was how all of Judy's work really focused on individuals, and she instilled that in all of us that worked with her, and that systems can't provide everything, and there are times that gaps are going to be left by those systems, and it was Judy's goal to find ways to fill all of those gaps. And if there wasn't a system in place to fill that gap, then Judy would fill it. I remember multiple times getting in her van and picking up somebody out of a personal care home with all of their belongings and moving them into a new apartment. You don't find that in people every day. And that's how she trained every single one of us. And we picked up 2 women out of homeless shelters, moved them into an apartment. I remember helping a man who used a wheelchair and was homeless and had 2 little kids. She helped them find a place to live and helped them move in there as well. And these aren't stories or memories that just I have. I know other people in this room were party to those. And I think that I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to know Judy and learn those qualities from her. And that each and every day comes down to the people and the individuals. And I think that's something that, thanks to Judy, I don't think I'll ever lose sight of.
I just want to say all of our wishes and thoughts are with Judy's family, and this is, really a celebration of what she has meant to all of us, especially the disability community. And I'm going to take you back to the 1980s because that's how I know Judy. Judy was the first executive director of Three Rivers Center for Independent Living. Lee Lacey hired her in 1980. Harborville Rehab Center got a grant from the feds to start a Center for Independent Living, and that came out of the 1978 Rehab Act amendments, creating independent living services and centers. And so it was a project. It was a 3-year grant, and Judy took that program along in Lee Lacey's guidance, and they spun it off in '83 as an independent nonprofit corporation, and they were out in Bloomfield. And Judy grew the program, and so they bought the Card Mansion on Penn Avenue in Point Breeze in the mid-'80s. And so the program grew, and it was all because of Judy. And so in the early 80s, I was working at the Rehab Institute of Pittsburgh, the Children's Institute they call it now. And Judy and I and Al Condelucci with UCP class worked together on a lot of things, and Judy was instrumental in helping. We got a program started called Packet, Pittsburgh and Allegheny County Attendant Training. And we trained a lot of attendants to work with folks. And they got 18 credits from Allegheny County Community College and we got good attendance out of all of that, and Judy was instrumental in that. We also started a program called STAR, Specialized Training for Adoption Readiness. And Judy, there was an independent living section in there, the training with parents. And thousands, I think, of kids, because of Project STAR, have been adopted and still going on at the Rehab Institute, the Children's Institute. They still do have STAR. And the executive director for that program left and started her own agency called Every Child Inc. So between Every Child Inc. and Project STAR, there are lots and lots of kids who are in permanent families, who were kids with disabilities, who were in the system, and now they have permanent homes, and Judy's responsible for some of that. And Judy was a true advocate. She taught me all about independent living, about consumer control and cross-disability and independence and personal responsibility and all of those independent living philosophies that are so important, and that we're all stronger when we work together as people with disabilities and not just as people who are blind or people who have epilepsy or people who have mental health issues. It's not the idea is we work together for all of us, we'll do much better, and that's what she's always promoted and what I learned. And I do have one correction. Tina said that she ran Three River Center for 10 years, but it was only 8. And that's because, well, Judy and I were on lots of committees together, the rehab committee, advisory committee for the state, and we would make lots of trips to Harrisburg and back and forth and back and forth. Anyway, one of those trips coming back in early 1988, Judy said, I'm getting ready to leave the Center for Independent Living, and you should apply. And I said, what? And she said, no, seriously, you need to apply for this. And I did. And I know she pushed it from the inside, so I owe her that debt of gratitude and for teaching me all the stuff I needed to know about independent living philosophy. But I was able to take over the center in June of 1988. Judy was off to pay more attention to her family issues, and we remained good friends throughout. Anyway, the disability community owes Judy a great deal of debt of gratitude for all that she did for all of us with disabilities. And it's been a real honor to be able to say a few words about how great she was and what she meant to all of us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I wouldn't miss this for the world. Judy inspired me when I first went to the Center for Independent Living. When I had just gotten out of an institution and started doing things to change the world. One thing I was amazed that she was running the Center for Independence, that I am honored. And it gave me the inspiration to do more in the disability community. And I have met a lot of people. And from time to time I met with Judy, and I was really proud to be her friend. I didn't know too much about her private life, like her family and everything else she was doing. But every time I met with her, it would be at different functions, which I was proud of her. It inspired me to do a lot of my own things with people with disabilities. I helped the Port Authority, the Access, and many other communities. Also, the mayor's task force, our city county task force, that I was really happy to be part of. And I was able to, I think I met Joe there, I'm not sure. But anyway, I was over there trying to help out. Also, I was part of the United Cerebral Class Act, and I helped make a lot of changes there. And so now, for the last 15, 20 years, I've been a commissioner on the city housing authority, the city of Pittsburgh. And one of my titles is I'm the vice commissioner of that board. And in that board, I have approved a lot of resolutions that I'm proud that I can say that. And one thing I do want to mention, they have a trailer now called Wi-Fi on Wheels. And if you want more information, just text HACP.org and you can learn more about that. So, yes, I'm gonna miss Judy. And I'm proud to know her. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. So we have some remarks from a couple people who couldn't be here tonight. And Tina's gonna read them.
Okay, this is from Guy Caruso, the Western Coordinator of the Institute of Disabilities at Temple University. I first met Judy in 1984, 40 years ago, when I worked for the Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council and was asked to visit Pittsburgh by the new executive director to meet influential professionals and advocates in the western part of the state. Not surprisingly, Judy's name was at the top of the list for people to see. This first meeting with Judy stuck in my mind because of the energy, passion, dedication, connectiveness, and competence she displayed. She truly was a force to reckon with and a staunch supporter of and for disability rights. A few years later, I moved to Pittsburgh and got to know Judy better and felt welcomed by her into the Pittsburgh community. Judy held a number of different positions over the years, always bringing her extraordinary advocacy skills to them. We became friends, and I always look forward to seeing her. As I started a family, so did Judy, as she raised two wonderful sons. What I liked about Judy was that she was a doer. She did not just talk about change, she created it in so many wonderful ways. Judy is a person to emulate for her never-ending advocacy to make life better for people with disabilities here and elsewhere. She was a pioneer in capturing the voices of people with disabilities and voices of our region. We will certainly miss Judy's strong voice, and because of her strong voice, many people have better lives. And what she spoke to will continue to resonate for years to come. Thank you, Judy, for being such a powerful voice that helped shape Western Pennsylvania into such a strong community of disability advocates. I was honored to know you and will truly miss you. And this is from Tony Buba, the director of Voices of Our Region. I'm very disappointed that I'm not here today to pay tribute to Judy Barricella, but due to recent eye surgery, I am unable to attend. I would love to be in this space to hear all of the words that will be spoken about Judy today, about her life, about her family, about all the work she did to fight for a more inclusive and accessible society, about her legacy, and about the lives of those she impacted. I first met Judy when I was working on the film called Small Differences. Some of you know this as a project of the City County Task Force on Disabilities. I still get a laugh out of a scene between Judy and Chaz Kellum. Chaz, remember he was a middle school student at the time, tries to trick Judy into telling him her age. Judy wasn't going for that. She gave a quick retort and flashed that grin. It was a pleasure working with Judy on Small Differences and learning from her. Fortunately for me, this was not the last time I got to work with her. I'm not sure of the date, but it was either right before Christmas, but I do know it was a Saturday morning in the Strip District. My wife Jan and I were shopping, and we heard this voice cry out, "Tony Booba, Tony Booba." I didn't have to turn around to see who it was. I recognized the voice immediately. It was Judy Barricella. Judy said, "I have this project that I'm trying to get funded." She explained to us that it was going to be an oral history project about people with disabilities and include some of the history of disability movement in our region. She asked, would I like to be involved? Of course, I said yes. I admit at that time I did not know the scope of the project. So in April of 2008, Judy, I, and Athena Ardwig hit the road in Judy's van. That spring and part of the summer, we drove hundreds of miles through Allegheny, Beaver, Washington, and Westmoreland counties, interviewing people for the project called Voices of Our Region. We got lost a few times in our travels and had more than our share of bad coffee and bad lunches, but we never had bad conversations. The days were sometimes long and the interviews were always intense. Judy was amazing. Her warmth, caring, and kindness came through in the interviews she conducted. The people she interviewed connected with her. You can tell when you listen to the interviews. Because of Judy's vision, persistence, and hard work, we have an incredible collection of oral histories of people we otherwise would not have known. We have stories that address the human condition and its complexities. We have a permanent record of Lucy Sproul, Ruth Brenyo, Joyce Driven, Bill Coleman, just to mention a few of the voices that Judy captured. These are people who tell an important story. We have the stories of these people that Judy did not want to be forgotten. Thank you, Judy, for letting me be part of this project, for letting me be a small part of your life, and thanks for making all those you touched more aware and better people. Rest in power, Judy Barricella.
With the funding question, that was interesting.
No, it was just, what it was about was how Judy would always grab you, right? Or she'd call you, and I think one of the last times I spoke with her, you know, she'd get me on the phone. It didn't matter if it was a year, 2 years. She's like, Sharon, you know, I have something I need your help with. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. You know, and that was the end of that. You know, something we gotta do, and she always got it done. So that's what made me crack up.
Yeah, I think we've all had that same experience. Would anyone else like to speak? I know Jesse, you're on the phone, or you're on the call. Would you like to unmute and say anything?
My mom was an incredible person, as you all know. So very, very hard. But she put everything she had into like raising me. Don't meet a lot of single parents a lot of single people in general that had to adopt 2 kids that are not related at all, but really brought us in, really taught us everything we know. Like, I was not the best kid growing up, as I promised to go and submit to both now.
No, Jesse, no, come on.
But she never ever gave up on us. Even when I was in trouble, she always would say, it wasn't me, it was always somebody else. Never ever wanted to blame me. She just was the best person. I'll let her go.
Hi, everybody. I've known Judy since the early 1960s. My older sister went to Mount Alvernia with Judy, and they became fast friends. They were just, they were as close. There were the three musketeers. There was Judy, Linda Lee, and another friend, Elaine. And when Elaine got married, Linda Lee was her maid of honor, and Judy and I were the bridesmaids. It was, I have so many personal memories of Judy. One of the ones that I'd like to just impart is that before Judy used a motorized wheelchair, when she had one of the manual wheelchairs, when she would come over to our house, which was very frequently, one of us would be behind her, and one of us would be behind pulling, one of us would be ahead of her steadying, and Judy would be in the middle laughing her ass off. When we were praying not to have a foot slip or a hand slip. And then when we got inside, my father was like the best jitterbugger in the world. And so Linda and Elaine and Judy would jitterbug with my father. And she made sure that she was not left out of the dancing. And I was one of those people who Judy did many favors for. I've had a few spinal surgeries, and of course afterward you can't drive even when you can go back to work. And between Judy and Sam, they made sure that I got to work, which I appreciated greatly. And I got to know Aaron on those rides with Judy. So, Anthony, I love you guys very much. And if there's ever anything, I know I told you this in Giant Eagle, but if there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to call.
Appreciate it, I do.
Thanks.
Thanks, Pat. So I worked for Pat for a number of years here at DHS, and it always cracked me up when Judy would call you little Patty Jean. Okay. Anyone else like to say any words? This is lovely, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and celebrating Judy's legacy in life with us. Jesse, thank you for being on. We'll leave the teams on, so if you want to unmute or say anything or say hi. And everyone who's here, we have drinks and snacks, and we hope you stay and chat as long as you like. So thank you all for being here, and